When it comes to sitcoms centered around family life and lighthearted humor, The Brady Bunch is one series that stands out from American television history, debuting in the late 1960s and continuing into the early 1970s. While it portrayed the image of a perfect, wholesome family, what happened behind the scenes was far from flawless. In today's video, we'll pull back the curtain and reveal some of the lesser-known stories about the Brady Bunch cast and production. Despite its success, there were plenty of off-camera moments that shaped the way the show evolved. So if you're curious about what really went on, make sure to stick around until the very end. Created by Sherwood Schwartz, The Brady Bunch was an American sitcom that aired on ABC from September 1969 until March 1974, spanning 5 seasons with a total of 117 episodes. The story followed Mike Brady, a widowed architect with 3 sons, who married Carol Martin, herself a widow with 3 daughters. Mike's boys, Greg, Peter, and Bobby, and Carol's girls, Marcia, Jan, and Cindy, came together to form a blended family, adjusting to new siblings, different routines, and the inevitable rivalry between boys and girls. While many shows take cues from real life, Sherwood Schwartz found his inspiration in an unexpected place: a newspaper clipping. He read a 1965 article in the Los Angeles Times noting that 31% of all marriages involved partners who already had children. To him, that wasn't just a statistic, it signaled a major social shift in America. Schwartz later explained that seeing nearly a third of marriages involving stepfamilies sparked the idea for a show, originally titled Yours and Mine. Initially, networks showed little interest in Schwartz's idea, turning him down several times. But when the 1968 film Yours, Mine, and Ours, starring Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda, became a box office hit, things changed. The movie's success, which depicted a massive blended family, reignited interest in Schwartz's pitch, and ABC finally greenlit the project. At that point, the show was still called The Bradley Brood, before eventually being renamed The Brady Bunch. Like many iconic shows, The Brady Bunch has plenty of little-known facts attached to its history. One particularly surprising tidbit: renowned actor Gene Hackman was once considered for the role of Mike Brady. It's hard to picture the tough, brooding Hackman stepping into the shoes of a sitcom dad, but according to Sherwood Schwartz, he was seriously on the radar. In Schwartz's book, Brady, 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 he shared how he had planned to invite Hackman in for an audition. However, executives at Paramount ultimately vetoed the idea. Their reasoning was simple. Hackman's TVQ rating, basically a measurement of an actor's recognition and likability among television audiences, was too low at the time. Even though Hackman had already received an Academy Award nomination for Bonnie and Clyde, the network didn't feel he was popular enough for TV viewers. Instead, the role went to Robert Reed, who was already under contract with Paramount. Reed, who had built a fan base thanks to his previous work on the legal drama The Defenders, seemed like the safer choice for the part. Was it really a loss for Hackman? Not at all. He went on to enjoy a stellar career, starring in classics like The French Connection, Superman, Hoosiers, Get Shorty, and The Royal Tenenbaums. All things considered, things worked out exactly as they should have, both for the Brady Bunch and for Gene Hackman. In an alternate version of the Brady Bunch, the family's leading lady could have been someone completely different. Originally, comedic actress Joyce Bulifant was set to play Carol Brady. In fact, Bulifant had already signed her contract, and the young actresses were even chosen to resemble her. So what changed? According to Bulifant, everything was going as planned until Sherwood Schwartz approached her during a costume fitting to break the unfortunate news. The reason she was replaced was closely tied to the studio's decision to cast Ann B. Davis as the zany housekeeper, Alice. In Schwartz's original concept, Carol Brady was supposed to be the funny, offbeat mom, much like Lucille Ball's character in Yours, Mine, and Ours. But once Davis was hired, her comedic energy filled that role, leaving Schwartz wanting a more grounded and nurturing mother figure instead. That's when Florence Henderson entered the scene. The news came as a shock to Bulifant, especially since the casting had been built around her appearance. However, she didn't let the disappointment define her. Joyce Bulifant soon found success starring in another classic sitcom, The Mary Tyler Moore Show. Now let's dive into some of the darker, lesser-known truths about the Brady Bunch, starting with the show's beloved eldest daughter. For many young boys, Marcia Brady was the image of the perfect girl. But behind the scenes, Maureen McCormick, the actress who played her, struggled deeply. Overwhelmed by the pressure to embody Marcia's flawless image both on and off camera, Maureen turned to cocaine as a way to cope. Her struggles weren't solely born from fame. In her memoir, Here's the Story, Surviving Marcia Brady and Finding My True Voice, McCormick opened up about the trauma in her family history. She learned that her grandmother had died of syphilis in a mental institution, and her mother had contracted the disease in the womb. Although McCormick and her siblings were never infected, the knowledge left her anxious and burdened. "I sought refuge in the seemingly glamorous cocaine dens above Hollywood," she recalled in her memoir. "I thought I would find answers there, but really, I was running further away from myself." Her substance abuse soon spiraled out of control, leading to professional consequences. She attended crucial meetings while sleep-deprived and under the influence, one of which cost her a chance to star in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Reportedly, Steven Spielberg handed her an orange during the meeting and decided not to move forward with her. Sadly, that wasn't the lowest point. McCormick admitted that at times she exchanged sexual favors for drugs. She described using every last trace of cocaine she could find, no matter how many days she went without sleep. Beyond drug addiction, McCormick faced other private battles. She confessed to having 3 abortions by the ages of 18, 19, and 20, a heavy burden that she attributes to her chaotic lifestyle. At the same time, she developed bulimia, an eating disorder fueled by the need to maintain her thin, perfect appearance that Hollywood so often praised. In those days, eating disorders were rarely talked about publicly, and it wasn't until Karen Carpenter's death in 1983 that such issues gained widespread attention. Until then, McCormick's bulimia was a secret she battled alone. Adding to her troubled youth, co-star Susan Olsen, who played Cindy Brady, revealed that McCormick had a habit of shoplifting during breaks from filming. Even worse, when caught, McCormick would allegedly blame whoever she was with at the time. Of course, she wasn't the only young cast member whose real life took a dark turn. Mike Lookinland, who played Bobby Brady, also faced personal struggles. Lookinland revealed that working long hours on the show deprived him of a normal childhood. Wanting to reclaim the youth he missed, he partied heavily in his 20s. "I lived my childhood when I was 26, he shared during an Oprah interview, admitting it was a dangerous choice. Fortunately, Lookinland managed to turn his life around. After 2 decades in the entertainment industry, he left Hollywood behind, choosing instead to lead a quiet life making concrete countertops with his family. Speaking of hidden frustrations, Robert Reed, who played Mike Brady, was no stranger to anger behind the scenes. Despite his calm on-screen persona, Reed frequently clashed with Sherwood Schwartz over the show's comedic scripts and gags. As a classically trained Shakespearean actor, Reed longed for more serious storytelling, something the Brady Bunch rarely delivered. Schwartz told ABC News that Reed was talented but felt trapped in a project he didn't truly believe in, making the working relationship difficult. This ongoing tension culminated in the series finale. The final episode centered on Greg Brady's graduation and a prank that left him with orange hair. Reed hated the storyline, demanded rewrites, and even threatened to boycott the episode. The producers didn't budge. Instead, they redistributed Mike Brady's lines among Carol and Alice, leading to Mike Brady's absence from the show's very last episode. If you thought the cast had it rough behind the scenes, just wait until you hear what happened to their furry companion. No picture-perfect family would be complete without a pet, and for the Bradys, it was their lovable dog, Tiger. Tragically, after filming an episode titled Catchu, Tiger's story took a devastating turn. After wrapping up for the day, Tiger's trainer let him roam freely around the Paramount lot for some exercise. But disaster struck. A careless driver ran Tiger over that very night, killing him instantly. The timing couldn't have been worse. Several scenes still needed to be filmed. Desperate, Tiger's trainer spent the entire night frantically searching animal shelters for a look-alike. Luckily, they found a similar dog. But it wasn't all smooth sailing from there. The new pooch was completely untrained and terrified by the bright studio lights and bustling set. As a last resort, the crew decided to nail his collar to the floor just to keep him in place during scenes. Ironically, the scene where the Brady boys tearfully said goodbye to Tiger played out perfectly, even with the stand-in. Tiger's doghouse, meanwhile, became a permanent fixture on set, a bittersweet reminder. Thankfully, Tiger's appearances were limited to storylines where he was absolutely needed. When you think of the Brady Bunch, it's impossible not to picture the sharp-tongued but lovable housekeeper Alice, played by Ann B. Davis. Davis had already carved out an impressive career before joining the show, complete with Emmy wins and nominations. Sadly, her life ended in an unexpected and heartbreaking way. In 2014, Davis slipped in her bathroom, hitting her head and suffering a subdural hematoma. At 88 years old, her condition worsened rapidly, and she lost consciousness before passing away soon after. Still, fans will always remember her as the heart and humor of the Brady Bunch, keeping her memory alive for generations. Then there's Susan Olsen, the adorable actress behind the youngest Brady girl, Cindy. With her trademark pigtails, sweet smile, and real-life lisp, she charmed audiences everywhere. But appearances mattered a lot on the Brady Bunch, particularly hair color. Producers wanted the girls to be unmistakably blonde, and the boys to have dark hair. Though Olsen was a natural blonde, her hair wasn't light enough for the show's standards. As a result, the 8-year-old had to endure weekly bleach treatments, causing her hair to fall out in clumps. Meanwhile, her co-star Mike Lookinland, Bobby Brady, had the opposite problem. He had to dye his naturally strawberry blonde hair dark brown. These harsh expectations were just a glimpse of the pressures many child actors would carry into adulthood. Speaking of Susan Olsen, you might be surprised to learn she later dabbled in the cannabis world. Despite her innocent image, Olsen revealed she once grew marijuana hydroponically with her then-husband. She clarified, though, that she never enjoyed smoking it. It made her feel paranoid. Her true love was gardening itself, and she found the process of growing cannabis fascinating from a botanical perspective. Barry Williams, who played the clean-cut eldest brother Greg Brady, also had his struggles behind the scenes. By the age of 12, Williams had already picked up the habit of smoking, and not just cigarettes. Like many teens of the era, he experimented with marijuana early on. In a 2014 interview, he confessed to a time when he got high with friends on his day off, only to be called back to the studio unexpectedly. Williams was still under the influence during filming for the 1973 episode Law and Disorder, a fact that, if you watch closely, becomes pretty obvious. His glassy eyes and barely suppressed laughter made it into the final cut. Producers even had to rewrite parts of the episode to minimize his role that day. But that's not all. Did you know Barry once asked out his on-screen mother, Florence Henderson? At just 16 years old, Williams had a major crush on the actress, who was 2 decades his senior. He later wrote about it in his memoir, Growing Up Brady, I Was a Teenage Greg. According to Williams, he wasn't trying to seduce her. He just really wanted to spend some time with her. Henderson, who was married at the time, found his infatuation sweet and agreed to have dinner with him, though she made it clear it was just a friendly outing. Barry's older brother even had to drive him to the restaurant because he was too young to drive himself. Florence later addressed the story herself, saying that while Barry saw it as a date, she thought of it more as a kind and innocent gesture.